Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of To Whom It May Concern. I'm your host, Malak, here with my co-hosts, Inara, Mariam, Khawaila, and Rif'a.
Hey, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
So, in lieu of National Bullying Prevention Month, we are going to be discussing the importance of confidence and self-esteem and how it can affect an individual both short-term and long-term.
I think bullying is such an important conversation to have because it affects the individual who's being bullied very negatively. Like, we know that individuals who have been bullied tend to have a higher risk of experiencing depression and anxiety and feelings of like sadness. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation. And I think this is also something that harms somebody's self-confidence as well as self-esteem.
Can you explain the difference between self-confidence and self-esteem? Because for me, they seem like they're the same thing.
And we probably will use self-esteem and self-confidence interchangeably, but so self-esteem is whether you believe you are worthy of respect from others. And self-confidence is whether you believe in yourself. So that's like the distinct difference.
At what age do you guys think this self-confidence and self-esteem starts to develop?
Birth.
Not from birth. I think maybe from like the age of 3, seriously. From the age of
3? That's young.
No, when you start to, yeah, exactly. When you start to cognitively like have the ability to know when you did something right or where you did something wrong, I think that's when it starts to develop. So maybe 3 to 5.
I think it's when you start surrounding yourself with, like, peers. Like, when you start school, maybe, like, kindergarten or first grade or something.
No, I think it's why we have each different opinions, but I feel like it's at a young age where, you know, it depends how you're being parented. It depends on how your siblings are treating you.
I agree with Rifka. Originally, when I said birth, I was actually saying it jokingly, but I remembered recently, I learned in class, guys, we were talking about attachment theory and how when you're born, how your mom or dad, your caregiver responds to you plays a role in how you feel in the future. So, like, I'll give you an example. As a baby, you're crying. If your mom comes and responds to your need, you form a secure attachment. But let's say you're crying and the caregiver is not responsive, you develop an insecure attachment. So you develop this sense of you don't know whether your needs are going to be met, which ends up resulting in adulthood where you have a lower self-worth. So it does actually affect the way you grow up because your needs were not met when you were a baby. That tends to actually affect you when you're an adult.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I
want to know how they did that study.
No, it does make sense, though.
Insecure attachments. You guys never heard of this?
I've heard of it.
Wait, I
I
totally
feel
said that off the
I don't
camera.
agree with the science behind it.
I feel like I used to always hear
Well,
parents say, like, if your child cries, to let them cry a little.
Yeah.
So they don't grow, like, dramatic.
There's
dramatic. Like,
There's a difference. It's not like, like I'm teaching my child that they can't sleep with me in my bed. But there's times where your baby's crying and they're hungry or whatever the case may be, and you're not actually responsive to them.
So
and
maybe-
this is like continuous. It's not like a one-time.
Maybe the science behind it is just that they grow up feeling more like they have to do things on their own, like more independent, or they can't count on people or something.
No, but how does that
That's a part of
rely
it.
with lower self-confidence?
When I was thinking about when I answered, what I was thinking was how your parent treats you when you're like 5 years old, 6 years old, and older. Like, how are they speaking to you, interacting with you? How is their tone? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a parent that's constantly putting you down, obviously that's gonna affect you.
Yeah,
If
the kid definitely feels down more
and
often.
whether you have a parent who's constantly saying, no, dream big, you can reach the world, like, you could definitely see that there's gonna be 2 different outcomes.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
I could see that.
So we're all in agreement that it starts at a young age, and
Oh,
it starts at
definitely.
home.
Yeah.
Wait, but I wouldn't say it's a kind of a defining feature, because I could see it going into 2 ways. Like, let's say you're constantly being put down. Like, there's 2 routes that people go. It's either to both extremes. It's either they go really high or they go really low. Like, I feel like it's not. It can result in a certain type of outcome, but I don't think
It's not necessary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the whole, like, genetics and environmental factors. It's like maybe
Nature
people...
versus nurture.
Or, no, it's not versus. It's kind of both.
Mm-hmm.
And the mix of, like, you're genetically predisposed to be more confident versus more not confident. And then depending on these environmental factors, whether it's you have a good family that's very supportive and improves your confidence.
And your reaction to
I don't know if you could necessarily be predisposed to be less confident.
I think it's part of your personality. So, and I do think personality is also genetic.
Really? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's both. you can sometimes tell, like, when a baby is first born, they still have, like, these personalities that they, like, if they're more friendly or they're more energetic or this and that. So, like, and you can tell that kind of sticks with them even when they, in adulthood.
Right, they have certain temperaments. But I do want to say there is, like, a good thing about, like, self-confidence. Even if you grew up in a, you know, a struggled home, you could learn self-confidence, even if it's, like, it's not like you're doomed, that's it, you're like...
That's why I said it's like you can, there's two reactions to it, that's right. Like you can either take it and it could result in your lack of self-confidence, or you can take it...
Like you could use it to hinder yourself, or you could use it as motivation to do better. But I think what you're saying, in order where it comes, like, necessarily from the home that you come up with, I think that kind of goes with what Khoila says. Like that whole, like, environmental aspects and how you're surrounded, but again, it's what you do with it.
People also build up a lot of self-confidence when they start hitting, like, middle school, high school, when it comes to friends and just that school environment. That can either go up or down depending on...
I feel like those are, like, the tough years in building your self-confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's why some people really rise. They either peak at that age or they, like, struggle at that age.
Everything's changing.
Yeah, and you're either the person that has it together, you know, that's on top of their game, or you're just struggling those years. But those are really crucial years, I think, for anybody. Especially middle school. I think middle school is so, like, vicious.
Really? More so than high school?
I feel like the kids, the way you are in high school is kind of your experience in middle school. Like, you took that experience with you, and that's who you became. Especially, at least in the beginning of high school, like your freshman and sophomore year. Maybe junior and senior, people start to care a little less.
And I think the bullying shifts. At first, like, middle school, it could be harsher. And then, like, but it could shift in different ways. Like, bullying can be turned to, like, high school. Bullying is more looking like jokes. And then you have to act like you're, you think it's funny, but in reality, like, you know, it's kind of like a indirect kind of bullying.
Like, you're not affected by it.
Like, in high school,
much.
That's how it is, whereas in middle school, it's
the
typical,
typical,
like, straight up.
Blunt.
Yeah,
like,
well,
everyone's experiences are very different.
Yeah, so bullying is a big part of, I think, confidence and self-esteem. And I honestly think bullying goes through all ages. And, well, kind of like a side note, I think it's kind of funny. Not so much funny, it's kind of pathetic, honestly. But dentist that I used to shadow with or whatnot, he was a professor at a dental school. And he was telling me one time that we were talking about kids and growing up and how kids are being brought up today so differently compared to the time that he was. And he's like probably late 50s, early 60s or so. And I was saying, yeah, kids can be vicious, whatever, etc. And he was telling me, he's like, I have never in my life until recently experienced students bullying each other in dental school. And I'm like, that I couldn't fathom the idea, because I'm like, people are so old at that age and you're all successful, like, why would you bully? And he's like, it came down to a point where we had to talk to the freshman class, sophomore classes, which I guess are considered D1, D2 students, about bullying and the way they're treating each other.
That's really pathetic.
Yeah.
That doesn't even shock me.
Really?
I was actually going to say, so I don't, not during med school, I can't really tell, but during my residency, like, I've noticed people's comments and the way they treat each other. I'm like, they're straight up bullies. And we're all in, like, our 20s, some are in their 30s, and we're all adults, we're working, and I've noticed many instances of people bullying others.
That's so shocking to me,
So,
honestly.
like, when you're saying this story, it's like, it's not shocking to me at all.
Come to the College of Social Work. We're very friendly people, guys.
Have you guys ever encountered, either personally or, like, people around you, a situation where either you were bullied or you were bullying?
At what age?
Any time in your life.
Yes.
You bullied or bullied
I
the
feel
bully?
like I was, at different points, I was the bully, and at different points, I was the bully. I was the victim.
I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I had switched schools, and I was very shy and, like, quiet, so I was trying to find, I guess, friends to hang out with, and I was trying to be friends with a bully. And I specifically remember us being at the park during recess, and she was picking on one of the kids, and I was just trying to befriend her and, like, run around the playground picking on this kid with her. It was so bad, but it didn't last. Like, we weren't friends for long. I mean, we were cool with each other, and she grew out of it, but I wasn't specifically a bully.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, sometimes individuals fall into bullying by circumstances like that. Like, I want friends, and it seems like, oh, if I tag along with the bully, 1, I won't get bullied, and 2, maybe they'll like me.
Like Huayla, I transferred to a new school. It was in the 4th grade, and that's a really tough experience, especially because you're going in and you don't have friends. So I was victimized. I guess I was bullied, and it's funny because I had a really supportive family at home. Like, my mom and dad were always people that told me I could do anything, be anything. And then you go to school, and it was a completely different story. And that made it worse, which was really hard because you don't want to kind of share what's happening at school to your family and make it seem like they were doing anything wrong. So you just kind of like would suck it up and go back to school. And this kind of happened throughout the 4th and the 5th grade. And then in the 6th grade, I actually found out that I was really good at sports. So I got to join the sports teams at my school, and that kind of helped build my confidence back up. But it was also detrimental in a way because I felt the only reason why I was good was because of my athletic ability. And we went to a tournament one time. I mean, me and Juan were on the same team. We went to a tournament one time, and we were just not doing well. And it just took such a toll on me that in the middle of one game, I just walked off the court and went home. And I came back a couple of days later, and I talked to my coach, Lena Talib, if you're listening. And she kind of helped me understand that extrinsic means of confidence will never last long because it's always dependent on something else. And then if you do fail, it will cause you to go right back to that zero spot that you were in before. So learning how to build confidence, love yourself regardless of your failures or your shortcomings. Know that just because you weren't good at something doesn't mean you're bad at everything. It's something that I think is a lifelong journey. I don't think there's ever one point where you can say, yes, I'm at my height of my confidence and I'm going to stay this confident throughout my whole life. I think it's something that is a process that will take your whole life to kind of overcome, and you're going to always struggle with it.
It's very difficult because a lot of the times we do get in our heads, especially when we go through failures or just struggles in our life.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many things that can take a hit to our self-esteem, and especially because of what the expectations are in society as well. It's like we're expected to be perfect in everything and quickly perfect at it as well. And so it's like when we receive like rejections or anything of that sort, we immediately begin to blame it on ourselves, and then it hits our self-confidence. And so I definitely agree it is a roller coaster.
It's not just societal expectations, it's family, it's personal expectations. It's like, I want to do this and that, and it's like, why can't I? What's wrong with me? I'm not good enough.
I think it also has to do, I mean, this kind of goes back to the whole environment that you're surrounded with, but I also do think that confidence plays a lot with the people that you surround yourself with. So if you're also surrounding yourself with people that are constantly like comparing each other, or they're constantly degrading your successes, whether they be small or they're big, it definitely affects the way you feel about yourself, and then you feel like you're always behind, like you're always falling behind. You're in a constant non-ending cycle where you're like when will I ever feel like I'm up to par, you know? When will I ever feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm excelling at it? So I can just imagine, Mariam, at that age, there's no filter, and kids are really brutal, and they just kind of say what's on their mind. But as you grow up, I think it's so important that you do surround yourself with people that make you feel good and remind you that, you know, you do things the way you do it, and you don't measure your success based on others. You just kind of measure your success based on yourself and how good you are at something.
I think having a good support system is definitely beneficial, but like Mariam was saying, it has to come within. It has to start intrinsically, where you yourself have to work on yourself and boost that self-confidence, so that you can, because you won't always have those group of friends with you. So you need to be able to believe in your own self before other people believe in you. Some people could see that you're not confident and kind of see through that.
I do agree that if you don't believe in yourself, there's no way you're even going to begin to achieve the things that you want to, or successes that you want. But you kind of have to tell yourself, I guess, that you'll never be at 100% all the time. Like, it's perfectly normal to hit lows. And in your story, Mariam, where you were saying you hit that low in the tournament, but for you it was so drastic that you walked off the court. Like, you were moved so deeply by it. And I think it's important that we recognize you're never going to be 100 all the time. And very honestly, very rarely will you ever be at 100. You know, it's more oftentimes than not, you'll be at like, I don't know, like an 85 or something. But you'll never be 100% all the time. And the sooner we begin to accept that, and the sooner we begin to believe that it's okay to not be perfect all the time, or it's okay not to do what everybody else is doing, it's what will begin to boost our self-confidence and our self-esteem.
One thing that I noticed about myself is there's some areas in my life that I'm like super self-confident in, and then there's some areas that I'm just like, I can't do this.
And that's okay, because we're not going to be able to know or do everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all very dependent on your perspective as well. Like, should we have that perspective of just, like, we need to strive for perfection, or we need to strive to be at that 100 as much as possible? Or the perspective of just looking at it like, this is me as I am, and I'm going through life at my best.
I think we need to also define though what that being at that 100 means, because like
Exactly.
if we ask around the table, we'll all have different things. Being at that 100, am I confident when we can talk about physical appearance, we could talk about just where you're at in life career-wise, or different things such as that. Some people will say, okay, when I'm in my makeup, and like you see, it could be like physical things, or if I'm wearing a full face, I'm only confident then. Or if I have my dream job, if I go to my dream college, I'll only be confident then. Where are we measuring our self-esteem?
Yeah, and that's kind of like our perspective. If we can switch that perspective and to just make it more, I guess, easy, to be just easier on ourselves.
I mean, self-esteem and confidence, they literally stem from within yourself. Like, I feel like confidence and self-esteem is literally how you picture yourself, or how you imagine yourself towards everyone, or how you look towards everyone.
Or your self-worth.
Yeah, so if you think that you're you're valuable, your self-worth is valuable, and you're up there and you're trying your best, that's when confidence radiates. Because honestly, you could meet people that, I mean, we can't determine each other's success, but let's say someone that hasn't achieved much, or like, they're just really like living a mediocre life, and they just radiate so much confidence because within themselves they're okay they're content with what they're doing, they're happy with what they're doing. So, and then you're just staring at them like, how are you like this? Like, there's nothing extraordinary about the life that you're living, yet you're living it so well, I guess, or so happily.
I think it's hard to block out all of society's noise, because I think that goes against your natural instinct as like a human being to want others to like you, to want to be a part of like a tribe, a family. Like, you want to be liked, you want to be
wanted.
Exactly.
Or since it's very intrinsic, then we'd have to teach ourselves how to either ignore or take a positive spin on it.
I think one of the best exercises that I learned was, for 2 weeks, you go and you take down every single negative thought you have, regardless if it was a spontaneous negative thought, or like you were in a bad mood so you kept thinking negative thoughts, and you carry around a notebook with you and you just write them. Write whatever negative thought that you have about yourself, and then after 2 weeks of like collecting this data, reflect on what was said, what you had told yourself, and kind of go about it systematically, where you tackle one issue at a time.
Have you done that before?
I did, and it's so tedious. It's so tedious, but honestly it helped, because it was like, wow, I have an issue with, I can read 1,000 good comments about my performance that I did, not my performance, but like a speech that I did, but that one negative comment, like I would fixate on it, and it would just ruin my whole mood, and it didn't matter if I had 1,000,000 good comments.
I think a lot of people can relate to that when we were looking at our social media pictures and stuff, where that one negative comment is like, it hurts.
I mean, it would be naive to think that you don't care about other people's opinions. Like, that'll always be, like you said, it's part of your human nature. There's no way you could just not care about what other people think. I just think you have to prioritize what you think.
But I think that's why there's a constant battle between you knowing that you're worth something, knowing that you have value,
versus what people are telling you.
Yeah, versus like seeing or hearing people tell you the opposite.
And I've noticed that, especially when it comes with women around women, we find it hard to, one, either take a compliment, or two, like, we just feel like the constant need to bash ourselves, like, oh, I don't look good, or I don't like my outfit, or my makeup is this. And that's something that we have to collectively learn to stop doing, to
And-
stop having those negative comments towards ourselves and those negative feelings towards ourselves.
And I don't even think when it comes to women being with women or whatever, I don't just think it's us on ourselves. I think we're so harsh towards each other.
Yes.
Like, I think we're so willing to kind of tear each other down more oftentimes than not, and that's a big blow to a person's self-confidence and self-esteem. I always hear so many girls that are like, I don't have many girlfriends because girls are too much, like, they're too catty, or comes with too much drama.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, and it's like, we shouldn't look at each other in that way, and we shouldn't also be that way.
I think as women, since we know the difficulty, or that we say like other women bring each other down, like we should change that and try to uplift ourselves and bring
Supportive.
positive vibes to one another.
Yeah, because we already see how confident women are viewed in society. You know, like, people are always, more oftentimes than not, they talk negatively about women that appear too confident. You know, so it's enough that we have to go ahead up against everybody else, but when you come to a group of women, you want to kind of expect them to build you up, support you in what you're doing.
I mean, it's proven that women have less confidence than men, and even when commonly, like, applying for jobs, that men know that they're less qualified for a job, and a woman knows that she's qualified for that job, but she will be less likely to apply
negotiate.
for it.
Oh.
Or negotiate
Or
prices.
negotiation,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like, when's the
Salaries.
last time, well, I have never negotiated a salary in my life, and I know, though, of other people that were men in my class that negotiated salaries, and they had no problem because they knew they were worth more than what they were being paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a constant issue that they always lecture us on.
And then when you demand a higher payment, it's you seeing as being snobbish or being a witch,
We're supposed to be grateful for any.
or for even having the job.
So how do we differentiate confidence and arrogance? I feel like a lot of us
It's
struggle
very
with that.
hard.
Like, it feels
No,
awkward to be like,
no.
yeah, I did great on my homework assignment, and then people not look at you like, wow, this girl's like.
Is that something you have to say out loud, though?
Like, are you being asked, how did you do on the homework assignment?
But why can't you be proud of what like, you know, you worked your butt off and like studied all night? Like, why can't I say that confidently without being
Because
looked at
sometimes
as
it's
somebody
just-
who's arrogant?
Because if you know, like, everybody around you didn't do that well and you're just going around boasting about your grade, that's a little, like, annoying.
Yeah.
But if you're just, like, with a group of close friends and you guys are discussing it and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I did good, then it's like, oh, whatever, she
It
did good
depends
for
how
her.
and where it's said.
Yeah.
Very
Anything in
situational. But
Don't worry, I
Another
don't go
thing-
around saying that, guys.
I think confidence is expecting the best and appreciating your best, and arrogance is letting everybody else know your
It's
best.
like within yourself.
Yeah,
Sort of thing.
yeah.
There's always like that, I guess, this misleading image that it's the loud and rowdy people that are very confident and like the shy, quiet ones that are lacking self-confidence. So it's always like the modest, shy girl doesn't have that confidence when that's not always the case.
another thing that I feel like a lot of women do is that when they are complimented on something, they either are extremely, like, humble and shy about it, or instead will turn it into, like, a negative thing. I know I do that. I
do
mentioned
that.
that, in previous podcasts, where if someone says, oh, Medium, that was such a good serve, I'll be like, yeah, but my bumping is really bad today. Like, I
For
have
volleyball?
I have to exactly, like, knock myself down in a different area, which is something that I've been working on. But I see a lot of people do it. I notice a lot of women can't take a compliment well. Like, say, yes, thank you, I did do well.
Mm-hmm.
I have to train myself to try and do that, just to not let myself down, just be like, yes, thank you.
So do you guys think confidence is correlated with appearance?
I think society tells you that confidence is correlated
So, like,
with appearance.
are you
But how
you
about
asking
within yourself?
if better-looking people are more confident than not
Or
as good-looking?
Or do we, I'm saying, like, do we assume that people that are maybe better dressed or better looking are automatically more confident than those that aren't?
I think when you yourself dress up,
Yeah, I
and,
was
like,
about to say that.
and you look nice, you feel great, you become more confident.
Okay, but how about if you walk out and you think you look all good and stuff, and you see somebody else that you think is better looking or whatnot?
Oh, like then you start comparing. and feeling
Yeah,
less.
and then is that a blow to your confidence? Even though you walked out of the house being like, I'm a 10. And then you see someone else that you may think is a 15, you're like, okay, I'm a 6. But do you guys think
I
that
don't know.
confidence is correlated with appearance?
I don't think we should compare ourselves to others. Like, why can't you be like, oh, she's pretty, and then I'm pretty?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying you can't do that, but I'm saying realistically, do you do that?
I don't think I compare myself and that hurts my confidence, but I distinctly remember a time where I went to a wedding and I thought I looked like good. I was like, man, I'm sitting at like a 9, not a 10 because not never perfect, but I was up there. And then someone made a comment about my outfit, a negative comment, and I went and I did not get up the whole night. I sat down and I was in a bad mood and I didn't want to dance because I didn't want people to see my bad outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think,
But that's like a person's comment towards you versus like.
but that was a blow to her self-esteem and confidence.
So like, yeah, our appearance. I mean, our appearance affects everything. It affects how people interact with us. It affects how we feel about ourselves. I don't think any of us can help it. Like on days where I didn't sleep and I'm looking like a bum, I'm less confident than where I look good, feel good.
No, I mean, it makes sense because there's that, everybody says look good, feel good, do good. So I think it definitely has some type of relationship. And I also think it's what we perceive to be looking good. For
Yeah.
some people, looking good isn't until they have their makeup on. For some people, it's just washing their face and, putting doing a mask the night before. So I think it's also your perception of what looking good is.
But that's also like standardized by like what society thinks. Like it's not really.
In a way, I don't think all the time, or I don't think for everybody. But based on what we've said, so we've talked about a lot of instances where your self-confidence is low or we're put in bullied predicaments and how it affected us negatively. But how do you guys think a person can build confidence?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, noticing the stuff that causes you to lack confidence and kind of going at it as a systematic approach really, I think, helped me.
It depends what you're not confident about, because I feel like there's different steps that can be taken towards different things. Because like if you're not confident about your looks, then there's ways to like be more confident about your looks. But if you're not confident about where you're at in life, that's a different method to like kind of fixing or to making you more confident in that. So it depends. I feel like there's different.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I would say like maybe goal planning. So figuring it
Yeah.
out what that issue is, and then writing your goal as to how you can overcome it. So it could lead to action.
I think a lot of self-reflection in a way that builds your self-confidence up from within is probably the start of how to build your
But
confidence.
I think the root always like ultimately turns back to like mentally. That's the common denominator between them all, because why aren't you feeling confident about your future? Why aren't you feeling confident about your physical appearance? It's because of how you're treating yourself mentally and what's going on in your head. And how to build more confidence is to have a healthy mindset and start there.
I think that a really important tip or way to build confidence is to honestly surround yourself with people that are constantly also bringing you up, or people that are like you guys said, like they're goal setters with you, or like they want people that genuinely want to see you on the path to success. And for them, regardless of where you are in your life or what things are looking at, they'll always try to make sure that your mental health is positive, or that you're always kind of looking at the cup half full.
And it may not be that easy because you're stuck in a situation such as like school or a work environment that could be negative. But something I like is doing self-affirmations, where I know you're going to feel so silly in the beginning when you go to like the mirror and you start saying, I am smart, I am funny. But I am is a really powerful phrase and statement, and whatever comes after that is what you're going to believe. So you're just keep repeating it to yourself until it becomes like a part of you and it becomes a part of your mentality, and your positive thoughts will start outweighing your negative ones.
I don't remember this, but my mom tells me the story that when I was little, she would like put me in front of the mirror and she would have me repeat this phrase saying, "Ana حلو أنا شاطر, أنا حلو أنا شاطر." So like, I'm
That's
pretty,
cute.
I'm smart, I'm pretty, I'm smart.
I like that, Huayla, your mom building up that confidence from
Yeah.
the get-go.
And I have a friend that like keeps like in her apartment, she'll keep like little affirmations like everywhere, like printed, and like it'll have in front of the mirror, in front of like I don't know, random spots in her houses that she like.
Post-its that she wrote?
Well, we have like a women's center at school that like kind of gives
Gives
out,
out
but like
stickers.
yeah, post-its that works too.
Mhm.
And we really don't think that these things work, but they do. They're so powerful, and because they get into your head, and then they start affecting like actual change in your mentality.
Yeah.
I think sitting down and writing all your good qualities that you see within yourself, and then whenever you're going through like a tough time to kind of pull that out and let you get through the day would also help. But aside from like changing your thought process, I think volunteering helps, like doing something for others usually instantly makes you feel better.
But how do you actually? Because I think the problem can also be like, okay, how do you actually believe? Like, yeah, you can write good qualities about yourself, but it's like at the end of the day, do you really believe in those good qualities? You know?
I mean, sometimes, like, you probably have to trace it back to where your self-confidence hit such a low, or why it's so low to begin with. You know, like, after you try so many things and they don't work, or they don't work to your expectation, or you don't get the results, I think you kind of have to look back to what caused you to originally have such low self-confidence. Like, where did it stem from? Is it a home thing? Is it an elementary thing? Is it started from somewhere? And then I think you'd have to discuss that situation, or, you know, put yourself back in that predicament and kind of
Like find the root problem.
yeah, because there is, I mean, for some people, you're right, you can do so many things, and at the end of the day, it's just not enough, or you're just not convincing yourself that it's enough. So you really have to, I mean,
I would say heads up, like if you are gonna look back and try to like find what the root cause is, I think that is good, but make sure you have to be very careful in how you do it. Don't dwell on it in a way that you are blaming yourself and saying, why me? So make sure that when you are reflecting that you are not harming yourself. So make sure that you're saying what, instead of saying why, kind of change it up to like what. So be more proactive with the way you're thinking so that it's not harming yourself.
and maybe speaking to someone, or like seeking, you know, professional help could be something that you're interested in also, and they could kind of help you navigate through that safely, like Inara was talking about.
Do you guys find it necessary that people find out why, like, they're in the situation or they don't have that confidence regardless of the reason why? If they can figure out solutions to fixing it, why try to dwell and open up a can of worms?
I mean, it could be more like revisiting that time and then realizing that it wasn't your fault.
No, I think, yeah, opening it up, getting to the root cause of it versus, like, putting a Band-Aid on it. It might open up a can of worms, but you will get it solved.
Yeah, like maybe it's something
And
you
heal
needed to
more.
realize that it wasn't you, or it wasn't your fault or something, and for you it could be like an eye-opener. No, I guess I don't
depends
know,
on the
depends
problem.
yeah. I don't
Or
know.
what the case is.
So what does confidence look like to you guys?
Physically, when the person's like standing up tall, has their head up high, someone who speaks very confidently, like in their tone of voice, that's like the outer look of confidence.
I think when I think of someone that's confident, I think it's someone that is kind of calm, cool, collected, and they know how to balance. Like, they're not always loud and obnoxious, but they're not afraid to say their opinion. It's more of a feeling rather than a look.
Honestly, I kind of agree with Inara. It's
like,
somebody
you-
that talks.
you don't know-
Like, I
you-
think people that talk confidently, like they got their crap together.
Yeah.
Like, even if they don't, they got it together.
Really? It depends on how. What do you mean by talk confidently? Some people, like, I feel like are overdoing it and they're trying to, like.
Overcompensate.
Oh,
No, but those are
Overconfident.
not confident people.
They're
you
trying
can
to
tell.
prove
But
themselves.
you could
A lot
tell
of them,
they're
just trying to
tryhards.
prove themselves, though,
Yeah.
which is not being
No, you
confident.
could
Why
tell
would you have
the-
to, you know what I'm saying?
You could tell the difference between somebody that's intelligent and somebody that's just like being annoying and
But that's what I'm
obnoxious.
saying. Like, that's what I was
So
trying to
people that
say.
are dumb as bricks can be confident. Like, it's that to us, intelligence is perceived.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, you are intelligent, so you should be confident. But that doesn't mean that's how they feel inside.
Yeah, that's true.
But
But
that-
we're saying what's our perception. We're not saying like their mental state. You're not gonna know that.
I kind of have a negative view on this question because I don't think you could tell someone's self-confidence or self-esteem based off of their appearance, because there are people like I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Robin Williams, who was a comedian who made everybody laugh, who felt like, you know, he was on top of the world, and he ended up committing suicide because he had such negative thoughts about himself. So I don't think it's something that anyone could judge besides you, and I think a lot of people are good at faking it.
That's actually true. I remember I had a friend of mine who I was like, man, like, you're so like confident and like you go to school and you're just like full of life and you're funny. Wow. And then we got really close, and then she opened to me about her home life, and she was telling me the difficulties that were happening at home. And I was totally taken back, and like some traumatic experience that she had when she was younger. And I was like, whoa, here's this girl who seems like she's so confident and full of things, but inside she feels broken. And to me, a lot of people that I have met that to me look confident tend to be the people that sometimes are hurting inside. And I think those individuals sometimes people assume that those individuals have things together, so nobody really cares to check up on them. So just like a tip, even if somebody seems like they have things going on for them, it never hurts to be like, hey, how's things going? And like genuinely meaning that and checking in on your friend that seems to always have things together.
And always be kind to someone, because you never know like what kind word you could say that doesn't mean a lot to you, but you just say it right offhand and it could mean the world to somebody else.
So this is clearly a very important topic to discuss and to talk about with your peers and the people around you. And I mean, like we said earlier in the episode, this is Bully Prevention Month. So it's clearly something that affects not just maybe you, but the people around you and even the greater population, I would say. So thank you so much to everyone for tuning in and listening to this week's episode of To Whom It May Concern. Please subscribe, like, and follow us on social media. We appreciate all the support we've been receiving thus far. If you don't already follow us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Modern Skeps. And please continue tuning in every Tuesday mornings to hang out and listen with us. If you have any ideas you'd like us to discuss, please email us at modernskeptics@gmail.com. Sincerely, The Modern Skeptics. P.S. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness.